How do I grow my quads? Now, I've said this probably a few times. There are 1,000 ways to summit a mountain. There are 1,000 ways to grow your quads. There are 1,000 ways to summit a mountain. We hire guides to get there safely and swiftly. So, talk to someone you know, someone you trust, and first and foremost, get an opinion from them. But here's a good place to start. And if I'm that person you trust, please reach out and ask me any questions after you watch this video. I am happy to give you a better idea and send you on a road that's a little bit more tailored towards you. But here's a good place to start. All right, number one, we start by assessing where you are. How much volume do your quads already get? And where can you add more volume to them? Now, a lot of pro bodybuilders and pro powerlifters will assure you that putting muscle on does not require you putting more weight on the bar. It requires you doing more work slowly that you can recover from over a period of time. So if you do so much work that you shock your system that you can't recover from it, the work is not worth it. All right, so we need to slowly add work over time. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you how you can go from where you started to add more weight over time so that you can put on the muscle that you want. All right, so for example, let's say you have 3 quad directed exercises for 3 sets for a total of 9 total sets a week directed at the quads. And you want to set a goal to achieve 12 total sets a week of quad work. Now you can do this in a couple ways. You can do this by adding a set to one of your quad exercises each week until you achieve 4 sets of each of your 3 exercises. Or let's say you're interested in adding the leg extension in, and you can do this slowly. So now you can add another exercise in rather than adding a set to each of those. And that next week, you just add 1 set of the leg extension. The following week, you'll add 2, and now you'll have accumulated 11 total sets. And then the next week, you have 3 sets of that new exercise, the leg extension, and you've accumulated now 12 more rounds, or 12 total sets of volume in the week directed at your quads. This is how we grow volume slowly over time. So where do we go from there? Well, how did your quads feel at the end of it? Did they feel super sore after that last week that you accumulated 12 sets? If not, maybe you just run a deload of 8 sets and then you start with 10 sets as your base and you build up to 13 or 14. You can add a week because you know that like your soreness was super low, so you know that you can really kind of rev up the volume just a little bit, but still slow enough so that you can make the adaptations and start to slowly incorporate it into your regimen. So let's say that your next goal is to accumulate a total of 14 sets per week in your quads. Now you can add another exercise, but let's say we can just split that up across 4 exercises. 2 exercises are going to have 4 sets, and 2 exercises are going to have 3 sets. So you can add sets slowly. Maybe you add a set to the exercise A one week, and then B the next, and then maybe C and D, you add an extra set in for C and D the next week. Boom, there you go, there's 14 sets accumulated across the week. Now how do your quads feel? Well, they got a little sore. Okay, dial it back, and then maybe we push it a little bit more slowly. Maybe you added 2 sets that final week and that kind of pushed you over the edge. Well, just dial it back and know that you can only add 1 more set the following weeks, or just even onto that. Maybe it comes down to exercise selection as well, which is something I'll discuss in a bit. So how do we choose particular exercises? All right, so choosing particular exercises. As our volume and the total number of sets adds up across the week, we need to start being a little bit smarter about exercise selection. As the intensity on the bar increases, fatigue goes up. Okay, so the exercises that we give that can allow for someone to put a lot of weight on the bar and, push the amount of weight on the bar, total intensity, needs to be gated here. We need to have some sort of filter for it. because all of that fatigue from this will not allow you to get anything or any benefit out of the successive sessions that are later on in the week. You're just going to completely body yourself up here doing all kinds of high intensity so that when you get to any of your other exercises, like they're just not worth it. So let's like take an example here. Say you've accumulated up to 16 sets per week of quad directed exercises. 3 of 4 of these are back squatting. 2 things here. A, back squatting is a horrible choice for a quad stimulus. Like, don't choose that. Yeah, it will work and it's great for intensity and it's great for powerlifting. But if your sole desire is to grow your quads, there are far other better choices than back squat. And B, the intensity that you can put on 12 sets, 12 out of 16 sets for a back squat will absolutely body you. You won't be able to grow volume week to week. You won't be able to go into the next session being like, wow, I can do another set of that. It's just going to absolutely kill you. So think about exercise selection and think about what the main goal is. If the main goal is to put on muscle mass, you need to focus on dialing back the intensity a little bit and adding volume. That's the main key here. So exercise selection, especially important when you're introducing a new exercise into the week, into the routine, into the regimen, because we need to know and understand the other effects this movement might have. If it's a compound movement, does it also affect hamstrings, glutes, other muscles that we might be required to use in order to build our quads or the other muscles around our quads? Because if it does have a big effect on that, that might affect how we take the program, because maybe we're just doing maintenance on quads, and if our maintenance on quads choice is going to diminish the growth of our hamstrings, which is the main goal, then that's a poor choice altogether. So when incorporating a new exercise, maybe it's ideal to start with something that you can limit the total amount of intensity to its lowest portion, and then you can grow the volume there, so increase the number of sets. Let's say you max out on sets and it's still easy, then go back, change the variation into something that you can add a little more intensity to. Take time and give these things time to give you feedback and show you the results that it's meant to build. Because if it doesn't, you can go back, you can add. We all have time, although it doesn't feel much like it. In terms of the long-term growth of muscle, you need to stick to a few things for a long time that you know will work. What do we look for when choosing something that's of lower intensity? Things that go from bilateral to a unilateral stance. So taking a bilateral front squat and maybe turning it into a front rack split squat will target the quads, and you'll have to take some weight off the bar because we can't split squat as much as we can bilateral squat, okay? Or using things like machines which isolate certain joints will make things easier and won't create as much fatigue on the total system, which will allow you to then increase the amount of volume over time rather than leave someone feeling like they have to, crawl in and out of a gym in order to get the work done. So when would choosing exercises of higher intensity be beneficial? Well, when you have people attacking lower rep ranges or lower set ranges for lower total volume, technically you probably have them peaking or pushing towards strength, which means you're going to want to bias intensity. So maybe you have a total lower number of sets, or you want to push someone more towards powerlifting, you push towards that lower number of sets in order to decrease the volume and kind of start at that building block where you incorporate higher intensity exercises and then you build volume from there. So maybe the goal is to build capacity in a powerlifter. You can start this way by choosing 3 exercises, 3 sets, gauge the intensity that they're at or they can achieve, and you can make those 3 exercises as intense as you want or at the variations that you intend. And then you can grow volume in that, and then you come back and you do the same thing. You increase the intensity in 1, 2, 3 exercises, and then you grow the volume again. It's a whole lot of rinse, repeat over and over again, which is why I push so hard that these things take so much time, and you just need to buckle up and put in, the little bit of work every single day, and you will start to see these little things turn, and that this little bit of extra work and this little bit of extra thought, pays off dividends. So the best thing to do right now, pick 3 to 5 quad exercises that directly stimulate the quads, and put them on rotation for a year. You can either use 3 at a time, or you can use 5 at a time. You can use 3 at a time and look to grow to 5 exercises a week for the quads, for the hamstrings, whatever it is. It can be any muscle group. Just look to increase that, which will increase the total number of volumes. So maybe by the end of the year, you hope to have 5 exercises in your regimen with 3 sets of each. And that would be a great goal to set for the year. Find 3, find 5, find whatever it is that you enjoy, that makes you feel your hamstrings, that stimulates some soreness as you add volume. Those will be the best things to go with. Give them time, give it a year, and commit to it.